As you sow. At first, humans used only digging sticks, hoes, and spades. Then they started exploiting the strength of the animals, most often the oxen, to pull things. This made it possible to use bigger and more efficient tools to cultivate larger areas of land. To grow grains in the same field for more than a few years in a row, nutrient-rich manure must be added to the earth. The manure spreader is filled up with animal manure at the dung heap. As it is pulled across the field, the rotating cylinder in the back spreads out the manure. A moving mat with wooden laths in the bottom pushes the manure back towards the cylinder. The oxen pulling a simple ard are depicted in rock carvings dating back to the Bronze Age. The ard works much like a hoe, tracing a furrow in the earth, causing it to crumble and loosen up. This means that grain seeds will land in the moist earth and can begin to grow. The earth does not dry out as quickly after being arded as after being plowed. In this region of Sweden, the early summer is often dry, which makes arding a good method. After sowing, a lighter ard can be used to cover the grain seeds with earth. In addition, the ard is particularly effective against a weed called couch grass, because it pulls its root stalks to the surface, where they dry out. Here in the eastern part of central Sweden, the ard was used longer than in many other places, well into the 20th century. The plow cuts off a thick strip of soil, turning it to one side and upside down, using a mold broad as the plow is pulled forward. Plowing is a good method to turn down manure from farm animals into the earth. But a plowhead field dries out quickly. In this region, the plow did not become common until the end of the 19th century. At that time, more and more farmers grew fodder crops on farmlands. For grains to be sown after fodder crops have been harvested, the land must be plowed so that the grass sod is turned upside down, revealing loose earth in which the grain seeds can be sown. The harrow can be likened to a large rake, or several ards mounted side by side. Harrowing breaks up the soil, loosens it up, and flats it out. Land that has been plowed must be harrowed before sowing. A harrow can also be used after sowing to put earth over the seeds. The rotary sowing machine, or sowing violin, performs the same job as a person who sows by manually throwing grain seeds. Turning the handle causes a spreader broad underneath the hopper containing the seeds to rotate. This spreads the seeds evenly and widely. Since the seeds land on the surface of the soil, they need to be covered with earth afterwards. The seeding machine is especially developed for clover and timothy seeds. That is, for sowing fodder crops. Both of these seeds are very small, and they can be mixed and sown together. Fodder crops are usually sown in the field the year before they are to be harvested, in among autumn sown grain that is already growing there, or else together with the spring grain. The small fodder crop seeds are usually left on the surface of the earth to grow in the shade and moisture underneath the leaves of the grain. Fodder crops grow slowly at first and do not compete with the grain. The seeder has sowing tubes that are pushed down into the earth to place seeds under the surface. As the machine is pulled over the field, for example by a horse, it spreads the seeds evenly. The seed drill sows one row at a time underneath the loosened up surface of the earth. It can be adjusted for differently sized seeds, from large peas and beans over grains to tiny cabbage seeds. The roller is used to compress the moist earth around the newly sown grains. It also evens out the surface, which makes harvesting easier later on.